Hi everyone, it's Tamara here from lalalandcrafts with another card making tutorial. This week I'm using the new clear stamp set Get Spooky. I'll be doing some Copic colouring of the ghosts and then using some of the new release dies plus some older dies to create this spooky scene. I've grabbed out my Misty and some Copic XPress It cardstock to stamp out my images, and I'll be using these two ghosts to stamp out to colour up for my scene. So I've got the ghost with the lollipop and also the ghost just holding the candy holder. So I've popped that in my front of my Misty door, and using my Memento Tuxedo black ink I'm going to give that a stamp out. And just to make sure I've got a good impression, I'm going to double stamp it, and now we've got a great impression to do our Copic colouring. I'll just pop on some music now where I do some very simple Copic colouring. Now I'm going to grab out a piece of smooth white cardstock from my stash and just going to get my boo die and make sure it's going to be big enough so that I can cut that out. And I'll be doing some Distress Oxides ink blending in Broken China, Uncharted Mariner, and finishing off with some black soot. And this is what I'm going to die cut my boo out of to get a really nice color variation. So I always find it's easier to do a larger piece of cardstock and then cut out the word die from that. And now we'll set that aside to dry. So I'll be using this pattern paper piece from the Haunted Paper Pack set, and also the largest die from the Forest die set to create a frame to frame my scene. So I've just grabbed out a piece of black cardstock and my paper trimmer, and I'm going to just trim this down to size to create the base for my frame. I will have all the measurements for both this black piece, the pattern paper piece, and also the card base in the description box below. So now I'll just get my pattern paper piece trimmed down to the same size as my black cardstock frame, and this will be just sitting underneath that. And now I'll also grab out my forest die and we'll run that through my die cutting machine to create my frame. So that lines up perfectly, so we'll set that aside while we work on our other elements. I've grabbed out my die cutting machine and a piece of scrap black cardstock, and I'll be cutting out the spooky tree die out of the black cardstock. So I'll just run that through my machine and we'll just pull that apart. Now I did use quite thick cardstock, so it will cut it a lot easier when you use like a smaller cardstock than I have, but this cut it out really nicely still. So just poking all the eyes out. I should have got my pick out, but I just want to use a bit of yellow now behind the tree to create a kind of bright, kind of glowing light from his face. So I'm just trimming that down to size. And now I want to add a little bit of ink to match in with the rest of the card, and also make that bright yellow glow right from the middle, so that it just looks like there's kind of like a fire in that tree. So I'm just blending out with my small brushes, and we'll set that aside to dry. Now that that's dry, I'm just going to attach it to the back of the tree, so it's easier to put it on the back of the tree face, and then just line that up in the middle. And now we've got a nice glow from his face. Now the boo word is going to be the main sentiment, but there's so many cute sentiments in the set, I decided to make a little sub-sentiment. Now with this particular sentiment, it already has boo in it, and because obviously we've got the boo die which will use the word boo, I'm just going to trim that off so it's just got the first two words, and then the boo die will finish off that sentiment. So I've just grabbed some anti-static powder tool to go on my black cardstock and my Versa watermark ink, and I'll grab my folded piece of paper to catch any excess embossing powder after I sprinkle it on, and I will just heat set that. Sorry I didn't get that on film, but now we'll just get that trimmed down to size so that we've got our perfect sentiment strip. So we'll just trim that up, making sure we lined it up straight, and now we've got our sentiment strip ready to go. Now I want to prop up my frame, so I've grabbed out some foam tape and I'm just going to place that around all the sides and also the middle edges on each of my four sides. So we'll just get that all trimmed up, just making sure we've got trimming that down to fit so that it doesn't show through once it's on the card. So I've got that trimmed down. We'll get that on the other side, get off all the release paper, and then we'll line that up with our pattern paper and make sure that we center that so that that pattern paper is hidden behind that frame. So it's best to stand up because it's a lot easier to see, and that's all ready to go. Now I've already folded and scored a black card base, and I'll just now get our frame attached to the front, just making sure it's lined up and even on all the sides. And we'll grab out now our boo sentiment, line that up on our ink blended panel, and just run that through the die cutting machine. And we've got our boo ready to go. It cuts it so well. And I also thought to do a little kind of shadow to it. So I'm just going to run a piece of black cardstock through my die cutting machine as well. And now we've got our shadow. So I find the best way is to actually put glue on the actual ink blended panel, and then you can just offset that so that it will, you know that there'll be ink on your actual black panel when it's attached, and you're not going to be putting glue where you don't want it. So now we've got our kind of shadowed boo. So I'm just going to work out where I want all my elements sitting on my card front. So I'm thinking we'll pop one ghost up the top and one at the bottom. Then we've got our sentiment, and then we want our tree. Now we'll want to put our tree down first because I'm going to glue that directly to the pattern paper inside the frame, and then everything else will sit on top of that frame. So just make sure I'm happy with the layout, which I am. So we'll start getting everything stuck down now. So as I said, we'll get our tree down first because that will be flat against our base of our card. So just kind of lining that up inside, and we'll just center that in the middle of the scene. And then with our two ghosts, they're going to be partially over the opening, so we'll need a little bit of foam tape, and then we'll need glue on the rest. So we'll put that on the glue and taken off the release paper, get that attached at the top, and we'll do the same for the ghost down the bottom. And just lining that up and get that attached. And the same with the boo, we'll need a couple of pieces of foam tape. So I've got some foam squares. We'll just get them attached down the bottom of the boo and take off all the release paper, and then get some glue on the rest of our boo to attach to the top. And then we'll stick our sub-sentiment over the top of that. I'm just going to kind of offset it to the side. And this is a finished card project for this tutorial. This was so fun and so quick to make. The pattern paper that comes with the Haunted paper pack is amazing, and I just love how it goes well with these ghosts. I hope you've enjoyed this card making tutorial. If you have, please hit the like button, and if you'd like to see any future videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.